Welcome to All Things Quiz and our live broadcast on Quizzy Monday. What did you think of that? We had 3 really good shows. We had Mastermind, followed by Only Connect, and finally, after a break for Nigella, we had University Challenge. Some tremendous buzzes, some tremendous answers, a little bit of controversy at points perhaps. So in the comments, please let me know if you've got any questions, anything to say, and we'll be able to talk about that. So that would be good. We should be joined very shortly by a couple of people. We'll be joined by Dave Bill, who was the champion of the Gamblers in season 3 of Only Connect. So he'll be coming along. And also Lyndsay Baumeister, who was playing tonight for the Whodunnits in Only Connect. So we will have 2 people who have quite a lot of experience in quizzing, and one person very recent experience. And this is Lyndsay. So welcome, Lyndsay.
Hi.
Hi. So we just watched you. Now I've lost track of how the competition mechanics are working in Only Connect. Does that mean that that's the last we see of the Whodunnits, or are you still in?
We are still in. So I've got a PowerPoint slide that I made to help us out. Yeah, so because we won our first round heat, we've still got our second chance. Right. So we will face the Walruses in our next show, which I'm thinking will be, I think, the 11th of January, if it broadcasts every week.
Okay, well, that's exciting, because we had Dan Adler from the Walruses on our live broadcast last week. So it's almost like there's a theme emerging. So no, that was great. Watching it back, did you find that there was stuff that you thought, I'd forgotten all about that, and things that kind of jogged memories, maybe painful memories?
Very painful. The feeling of dread when we saw the wall stayed with me for definite. But there are things that you can't ever be, you can't let yourself be mad when the other team get a good answer, because you can't control that. If you don't get your own question, then you can kind of be mad at yourself. But one of my all-time ambitions was to get to sing in the music question round, so it was great.
See, that's not everybody's ambition. That's a lot of people's nightmare. But you got for it.
So, yeah, that was great. But yeah, there was some questions, and I think a couple of frustrations. But the three of us, we chat regularly on WhatsApp, and we'd all kind of said that it was a blur.
Yeah,
we couldn't remember specific bits about this episode, and I think, you know, losing's never great, but I think once you've lost, it doesn't matter then, because we've got this second chance. And the show we have against the Walruses was we just had so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, in between at one point, obviously it doesn't show it, but Captain Alan broke the buzzer. We had to wait for ages to fix it, so we were all chatting and laughing, and it was we had a great bunch with them and in the green room and everything. So it's good. But yeah, the wall, the edit made it look like I knew what I was talking about with the ship answer, but it was an absolute Hail Mary. I go to a lot of conventions and things, and I just thought I might as well say it. It might be the answer. It
can really be word association, can't it be? In those circumstances where you're clutching at any straw you could possibly find. I found I said some very stupid things at times on the wall, which you find.
My Fiddler on the Roof comment wasn't exactly the smartest thing I've ever said, but you've just got to say what comes into your head. But I think after that missing vowels round, the Allens needed burn treatment on the fingers, because they were outstanding. Alan, you know, I mean, they are both great, but Captain Alan is just a machine on that buzzer.
No, it really was tremendous. I'm just going to add Dave Bill to the stream. So Dave is with us. Hi, Dave.
Good evening, you all right?
Yeah, good, thanks. So what we have between us is 3 University Challenge veterans and actually a lot of quizzing experience. And for those who weren't here right at the start, Dave was the captain of the Gamblers in season 3, champions of season 3 of Only Connect, with the as yet unfamous Jenny Ryan on the team, and Alan Gibbs, not forgetting Alan. Very, very formidable team. So Dave has a lot of experience. Dave, you've also been on other things, haven't you? Not just Only Connect.
Yeah, a lot of things. Started off as a kid. I was on Blockbusters when I was 17. Then Question of Genius, 15 to 1 early days, William G days. Pointless. I think we filmed the first series of Pointless, and it was. Sorry, my moves up in my head. It's really fun. First series of Pointless. We got asked if we were cheating because we had 7 pointless answers in one show. And once we'd explained the format to them and how easy it was to revise, at that point, that's when you started seeing pick off this list, pick this answer with all the vowels missing. It was like, yeah, okay.
So you weren't cheating; you were just prepared.
Yeah, exactly. We had a list. I mean, myself and Jamie. I think I know Gareth. You know Jamie. We had a list of about 300 or 400 answers that we thought might come up, and they did. It was. I mean, I think the first question we answered was. It came up history, and it was name a pre-1900 American president. And Jamie came out with Millard Fillmore, and I came out with Chester A. Arthur. And I think it was basically as long as you avoided
Lincoln,
Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, and Jefferson, I think you were pretty much on your way to a decent score. But I mean, it was once I stood there. I said to Richard Osman, I said, "It's so easy to be prepared."
I don't think people really ever understand that. I think people just think you're good at quizzing. We did so much revision. I don't think any questions were revised that actually came up. But on the show, when we're missing vowels, the Escape to New York answer, I think you can see us all laugh after we give the answer, because in the revision we were doing as a team, it came up as something that Alan Hay said as a test question like 2 times. So when I think that was the only one. Nothing else was revised. But it helps because it gets your brain working. And I think people they don't realise how much hard work goes into it.
No, do you prep? Particularly, I mean, the wall was a beast for you tonight. But did you prep how you would approach the wall? You know, looking for anagrams, looking for words that could go before, words that could go after.
Yeah. You can actually hear Captain Allen sort of saying about anything backwards, anything words, and we said we need to keep reminding ourselves. And I've done it when I've watched the other walls where things have come up. But what we were also doing is in the previous show, this one we were saying, well, we didn't get this type of answer last time, or we didn't get this type of answer, so we were more prepared if it came up. But as we've watched the show, we've realised all the other teams got the other types of questions that we were trying to think we'd get on and prepare for. Yeah,
I spoke to Lyndsay before she went on the show before they filmed, and I pointed her in the right direction of a few things, notably the wall one. Anyone that doesn't play Puzzgrid. Basically, there are. I think there are over 10,000. There's over 10,000 only connect walls that somebody's or various people have put together for basically revision and delectation.
Yeah, Dave was very helpful with some of we used quite a lot of his stuff for our revision, his pointers. But yeah, so Captain Allen, obviously with the Perspex screens, he had a harder job, but he had practice doing the cycling through and everything. So yeah, people take it seriously. It took me 5 years to get on the show. And when I got on there, I was going to try my hardest to well.
I got told off for swearing on the wall.
It was so close for you. You know, 1 point, and you had a fantastic missing vowels round. Absolutely blistering was the word that I used. And it comes down to things like that Naruhito question where clearly your team
knowledge shown it was
but just
Alan he's a walking Rolodex of these things. But the thing that's great about the show is that the crew and everybody also take it really seriously. So the discussions that went on about whether we would be allowed that, I'm assuming I'm not, revealing the curtain or anything. The discussions that went on to work out whether we could or couldn't have the answer, it shows you that they care about it as much as you do. You know, they want it to be fair, but it has to be right. So it's even though we didn't get the point, and I think there's a lot of people on Twitter have said it wasn't fair, you understand because actually it wasn't quite right and it was a word one. So you get it. They're the breaks. That's just how it goes.
I'm just going to add Thomas De Bock to the stream. Thomas De Bock has been on Mastermind, I think, this season, and also has been Is
Hi,
a University Challenge alumnus. So Thomas has got a lot of perspectives. Anybody who's watching, and welcome to Thomas, if you post a comment in the comments box, I can bring them up on screen like this. So Grace Bonamico, oddly, as of late, the missing vowels has been harder than the wall. Odd, innit? Love the streams, though. All of you have been lovely on Only Connect. So did you feel that? You've been watching this probably, Lyndsay, more closely than anybody else this series. Have you found that, you know, there's been certain trends like, you know, missing vowels being harder than walls or mismatched walls or anything like that?
I've got the 2 Allens. I don't need to worry about the missing vowels.
I think the vowels, the vowels, the problem they've got now is you're 15 or 16 series in now, and they've got to think of things that aren't just putting up individual things. So it's going to be all crossovers, like the rhyming antonyms and the rhyming. Basically, the thing they can't just put up basic answers anymore.
No,
because they've not run out, but it's not as interesting, and they've sort of made a rod for their own back by making it that good.
That's really true. We had when I was on. Sorry, I was to say when I was on, we had things like football.
Sorry, Gareth.
Carry on, Lyndsay.
Your brain does a certain thing with the missing vowels where when you hear the topic, your brain automatically thinks of what could be an answer. And we said afterwards that all 6 of us were waiting for Back to the Future. And it didn't come up.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one as well, because I'm obviously playing along while I do all the live tweeting for everything that happens, and the missing vowels one is the one where I just stop and play along myself because
you couldn't get any fast enough.
You can't do play-by-play on something that takes that short a span of time.
No, Thomas, you've been on it, haven't you, as well?
I have, yes.
You might be the one person who's been on all 3 of the big 3 that were on tonight. Mastermind, Only Connect, University Challenge. Is that right?
I have been on all 3. I'm not sure if I'm the only one.
Well, of us lot, you are.
Of us, okay, yeah. I was going to say of everyone else. I can't be the only one.
No.
There's no way. But I can't say I've noticed, as you mentioned earlier, that missing vowels was getting significantly harder than the wall, although that's mostly because I've always been absolutely terrible at the wall. But I
think it's the opposite, if I'm being honest. I think the walls were hard tonight. I think the first wall was particularly difficult. Your wall was particularly difficult, Lyndsay. And I think what people I don't think realise is the walls. Again, without going behind the curtain, the walls, I think, do impact the rest of the show, because if you go and solve your wall in, for example, 90 seconds, and the other team solved their wall in 90 seconds, there's 2 minutes of airtime there.
Yeah.
And there's 2 minutes of airtime that they've got to fill, and that's either Victoria Waffle or it's singing, which we don't like, Lyndsay, stop it. Or it's missing vowels.
Well, I was informed, Dave, that because in series 10, which was the last time I was on, we were criticised for wall stall, which was us solving the wall, and then going over and over and over. So let's just check. It really is, dog, cat, hare. These are all 4-legged, aren't they? So we were kind of going through that just so that we wouldn't do what you said and leave time for the opposition to come back.
Exactly.
A bit like footballers taking the ball to the corner flag in the 90th minute. But I've been reliably informed that they've stopped that now, so that the missing vowels rounds are of a set duration. That may or may not be true. You just want people to think that.
Presumably, they'd be cutting in and out of the extra discussion between the questions in the first 2 rounds instead, which would make more sense, I guess.
In our first show, they cut out a whole conversation where Victoria and I named Katie Price's husbands. So,
what they didn't cut out tonight, which I missed first time, but Valerie, our producer, was in the whole Naruhito thing. Was a nice little slipped comment by Victoria about whether the Queen or Prince Andrew, you have to be of impeccable moral character, which she just kind of slipped in relation to the Japanese emperors. I thought, but nice. She's not
really.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great episode. It's always good to really come close. I thought there was one cracking buzz by Alex on your opposition on the natural selection.
Yes, that was the answer as well.
That was a very good buzz.
Very good.
I think you can see our shoulders fall just a little bit after that, because it's one of them things you either know it or you don't. And when we talk about the walls being hard, you either see them or you don't. It's just that simple. It can be hard for one and easy for another. But when he answered that one, I felt my own shoulders fall just a little bit.
I was playing along. I mean, obviously, of the 12 questions in round 1 and round 2, there were 2 that I didn't get, and that was one of them, the natural selection one, and the other one was the aliens, which I thought was I mean, and when you look at it, you think, oh, gosh, it is, yeah. It's like it looks. It's not simple, but it's when you see it, it's workoutable as well.
Well, yeah, that's the one that it's the only one I saw that I remember spotting that none of the teams got, except I couldn't remember what the 4th Alien film was called.
Resurrection.
I don't think many people can, Thomas, to be fair.
Alan Hayes Rolodex.
We've got a question before we push on from Lucy. Asking Lyndsay, how many times did you audition to get on? Did you audition more than once?
So I applied 5 times with 3 different teams. We auditioned the second time, we didn't get on. And then I applied twice with the same team. We auditioned once and then we didn't get on. But Alan and I were actually put together as individuals, because arrogantly when we didn't get on, I went, well, I can't be the problem. I'm just going to apply on my own. So I think I got very lucky. I think I was the Tesco teammate put on that team with every little helps, because they are behemoths, and I feel very lucky to have got to spend time with them and be their teammate.
I think as well, it's a good team to put together, because I think a lot of the stuff you're saying about your friend with the Rolodex, but the stuff that he's not got on his Rolodex, that's your stuff. Yeah. I mean, we said Darwin was the best answer of the night. Fan fiction was second by a distance.
It was so good.
That was very good.
Yeah.
But it was a complete Hail Mary, though. The edit made it look like I knew what I was talking about. But I just thought, I've got to say it. It could be the answer. I know what shipping is. I go to a lot of conventions. My convention family, I'm sure, were very proud of me if they watch the show tonight. But you just got to say it sometimes and hope. It's like with the Fiddler on the Roof thing. Didn't work that time.
There is only one thing worse than throwing out an answer, it being wrong, and people mocking you on Twitter, and that's not throwing out the answer and it wouldn't be correct. It's just, I can't remember where I saw it earlier today. It was Jenny Ryan on Steph's Pack Lunch, and she was saying never pass, always hazard a guess. It's the arch crime. And, you see it on Mastermind, and, you're living proof that actually you throw out a Hail Mary. Sometimes it comes off.
It can all depend on on the chase. We always used to say, always take a guess. And the question was which country of the UK, and I passed because my brain had gone, I don't know the answer, and just moved on. So again, it can be down to time pressure and just. But I genuinely had nothing to lose at that point. My stomach was already down in my ankles with that once we saw the wall, so there was nothing to lose.
So we had one adjudication in Only Connect, which was the Naruhito thing. Yeah. We had a couple of contentious adjudications or pernicketyness in other shows. I don't know what people thought in Mastermind about the CMYK question, where the contestant was asked, what does the M stand for? They said red, and it was like, no, magenta. But as somebody's pointed out, if you'd have been asked about what does a K stand for, you'd say black. Yeah. So how is red any different from that? So that was a ruling. And then there was one on Jane Austen, and I'm not au fait enough with Jane Austen, I'm afraid, to know quite what the deal was, but something about a laundry list. And John and asked her more, and she kind of
what was in a box or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, they got into a dialogue, and then it wasn't accepted. But then people have been online going, "Oh, that would have been right." But going back to something Lyndsay said earlier, they do have people who scrutinise this and make sure decisions are correct. And if you challenge something, these independent adjudicators do check things. But that, if you're watching at home, you don't see that. And I felt with Mastermind, you had a couple which, from the outside, felt contentious. In University Challenge, you had a case where Pelosi was just accepted, But then a couple of other answers, surname wasn't accepted, and they were prompted on. When in top level quizzing, surname is pretty much always all you need,
unless you're told otherwise. Yeah.
So I don't know, Thomas. What did you feel about some of that?
Well, I guess it depends on some of the questions, because the first one, for instance, which happened when Kerry Payne from Magdalen tried to, on the starter on Tracy Beaker, just went for Tracy. I think that one was fair enough, because they're looking for several people who share a full name, I guess.
Yeah.
Or rather, a person with the name coming from different areas. It did, in retrospect, feel a bit harsh when Sean Webb from Corpus Christi was prompted on a later question, and then made a bit weirder even later on when I think the bonus part on Tove Jansson, where they said Jansson and Jeremy asked for a first name, and then Dan Wilson, the captain, waited 5 seconds only to be told, actually, that's fine, I'll take that. When, in actual fact, they would either, retape that later on or have that be accepted. I don't know what happened, even at the editing stage, to make it look that awkward. But I
mean, because all a quizzer wants is consistency, really. That if its surname is good enough, it's always good enough, and that you're not going to need it one time and not need it another time, and that's all you ask for, and that's what the independent adjudicator's for. And I think mostly it works, but tonight it felt a little bit, certainly in University Challenge, it felt unusually inconsistent. But maybe there's something about, I don't know whether COVID affected the team they had working on it. Maybe there was something different there.
Have they started using VAR instead?
Well, that's it. You get Sean Webb going like that. Yeah, I want to see
review.
Because in Mastermind, you have to challenge immediately. You don't even wait till the end of the round to challenge. I don't remember any challenges when I was on in University Challenge, and I don't know what they do with Mastermind if you have a challenge.
Well, Mastermind, when I was on, no one actually challenged, but in some cases, you do get moments where, Humphreys is in his earpiece, and it's quite evident that the producers are taking a look at something before they finish the round. And I guess what happens when you do that, they won't just make you sit through the entire round again. They just cut to a different shot of the camera so they can paste that in later on. Yeah. But it's a bit strange. And they do tell you that if you want to challenge, you just raise your hand. University Challenge is the same thing, really. If it looks like he's not been told to stop by the producers, you raise your hand immediately and interrupt, which happened in one of my episodes, actually. We had a 15-minute, what certainly felt like 15 minutes, was probably more like 2 minutes, of protest resolution as to whether blueberries and bilberries were the same thing. So, which ended up not mattering, but there's definitely room for protest resolution in both those shows. So
Lyndsay,
I'm not sure what happened there.
Lyndsay, were you told anything in Only Connect if you disagreed with anything?
I can't remember. I think for the missing vowels, they ask you to wait till the end. Right. But I mean, because they stopped, it's like the Naruhito question. I mean, we didn't argue, but they stopped, we waited, and then we picked back up again. I don't know. It's all a blur.
I think with Only Connect, because we've got a wide spectrum of things that might be acceptable. Yeah, it's not as black and white as, say, Mastermind and University Challenge. They're going to have somebody in Victoria's ear saying, well, to be honest with you, go on, give them that and explain to them why.
Yeah, we actually had that. We had something on dwarf planets. Yeah. And I think we went for largest. They wanted nearest the sun or something, but it turned out our sequence worked. So it was like, oh, hang on. Okay, we're going to have to re-record something. And then they told us we got it right, having been told we were wrong. So we didn't challenge it. We just kind of accepted that they got the right answer and we were wrong. And it's to their credit that they actually spotted that we'd given a plausible sequence, which was great. They didn't spot another one where I gave a plausible sequence, and it wasn't pointed out until broadcast when somebody on Twitter said, well, that works, because I didn't spot it in the show. But I think they do try and be as fair as possible, which all you can ask for as a player.
I mean, I know you've experienced it firsthand. You're saying there, Gareth. I mean, I disagree with, if I'm being honest, I disagree with alternative plausible sequences for the simple reason the squares are there. Yeah. If you give something after 2 that fits for those 2 but doesn't fit for 3 and 4, yeah, I've seen that in the past where they've gone, oh, actually, well, do you know what? It possibly could be this and this. We'll give it you. I'm like, no, that's not right.
No, I don't like that. I mean,
give them what's there.
Yeah, ours was after 3, and I think that comes back to that question about Tracy Beaker, in that the buzz came in when the clues were only about Tracy, and then you had the Beaker people clue, which meant that actually Tracy on its own couldn't be the answer, and Tracy Beaker was quite acute.
I thought I already heard him say full name at the beginning of the question.
So yeah.
Now, that was something I was going to bring up actually for that reason, which is, at least on University Challenge, you can avoid that kind of thing by saying at the start of the question, I need a full name here.
Yeah.
Or at the start of the starter, at least, and a bonus, you can say it at the end. But absolutely. I guess it's harder to do on Only Connect when you're still trying to be, very... There's an inherent aspect of the conceit to the question, so you can't really be like, well, I need this kind of answer if the whole point is you don't know what it's going to be about.
I've seen it on Only Connect where like they will have 4 possible answers where all the 4 answers are gentlemen called John Smith. Yeah, and if you come in after 3 and said they're all called John, you're right, aren't you? But
at that point, I guess you can just go for a prompt. But what if it's completely different and it's not related to what you thought about, but still works?
Yeah,
that's when you've got a bit of a harder one there.
Lyndsay, you filmed this under COVID, which would be not your normal experience of Only Connect. Have you done any other TV that you can compare it with, or was this your first shot at it?
No, I've done the Chasing 15 to 1 modern version. I'm not old enough to have done the William G. Stewart one day.
Well, thanks, cheers.
Yes, I mean, I did 2012, and it was what started the whole thing. But it's amazing how well they did it with the camaraderie in the green room, and you weren't sat together, but the atmosphere was still there. The crew were so friendly, you sort of forgot. And because we'd never been on the show before, the earpieces, the microphone, they weren't new to us. They were just how it was. I mean, 15 to 1, again, it was great. You've got all the people in the green room.
You got roped in with a bloke called Steve Dodding, though, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, bless God.
So that's the same series as me then as well. If it's
I didn't do well on that series. We don't talk about that one. I didn't do very well. I went back and I won my show. Didn't do very well, but I won my show in season 8, I think. But yeah, it's nice, and the camaraderie is really nice. But there was something, because Only Connect quite. So obviously all quizzes are cerebral, but there's just some other space in your head you have to get into. So it was kind of nice to have the tables apart, but you could still talk to your teammates and talk to the other guys, and the people we met, because there were generally 4 teams there at once. So you met other teams and you talked to them. And they weren't necessarily teams you were going to play, but they did it really well. It's surprising how well it did feel, despite it all. But maybe that was just the excitement. We were all so grateful to be there. Most of us had applied more than once. That I don't think anything would have made it feel anything other than amazing.
Well, I mean, I was going to say that's true, but also the fact that the Only Connect producers are by far the most wonderful people I've ever met within the confines of quiz show producing teams. But I think they could make you feel welcome in the most unwelcoming of environments. They are just that good.
We got lucky in the early days, back in the day. I mean, Series 3. We got recruited at the old BBC building on Oxford Road. I don't think it's there anymore. And we had a lowly assistant producer called Jenny Heap doing our audition, who nowadays has bigger fish to fry, doesn't she? So yeah, she's now running the gaff, and she was up and down the country doing the auditions. Anyway, it's just as you said. Myself, Alan, and Jenny, when we went in, I think some people will have heard this story before. There was like an audible squeak from Jenny and Claire as they left, and Alan just nudged me. He goes, "I think we've nailed that." I'm like, "Yeah, I think we've done all right." Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they are brilliant, and I echo everything you guys have said. And anybody watching, if you haven't watched the interview with Jenny Heap on All Things Quiz, where she talks about putting this series together in COVID, then that's well worth a watch. So that's my shameless plug out of the way. And also to anybody watching, if you have any questions for Lyndsay, perhaps about tonight's Only Connect, or any comments about anything in terms of Mastermind, University Challenge, Only Connect tonight, put them in the comments so I can bring them up and we can discuss them. But while we were talking about some camaraderie between teams, one thing that I've often heard asked, and Thomas, you'll know the answer to, is what's it like on University Challenge between the teams? Because that feels on screen more adversarial, but do these teams know each other outside of quiz? Do they mix in the green room, or do they keep themselves apart? How is it behind the scenes?
Well, it really depends on which team you're up against. So when you're in the green room, at least when I was on, this was 3-4 years ago now, you are in with obviously the team you're going to be playing, but also at various points the teams from the game before and the teams from the game after, if there is a game after. It depends on when in the day you're recording. You're not always going to be in the green room together because you're off in kind of a staggered manner to do all the makeup and wardrobe kind of stuff. But really, it depends on how sociable you want to be in the green room. So in my first game, I was on for 2 games. We were up against the Courtauld Institute of Art, and we did not talk to them. At least in my case, I was more talking to the team that was on before us, which I believe was Warwick, because I was more familiar with them. I knew them from the student quiz bowl scene. But in our second round, we were up against Merton College, Oxford, and because we share the city, and I would go to Oxford Quiz Society meetings, I was already quite familiar with Gainey Woodland and Alex Pepler, at least certainly. So there was definitely more talking there. It really depends on how extroverted you are, how much you want to mingle, how much you want to keep that kind of distance for the purpose of competition or to psych them out or whatever.
Sorry, did you just say extrovert University Challenge players?
There are some. Honestly, for instance, when it comes to the Quiz Bowl circuit, Michael Cohn, who's the captain for the Imperial team this series, has been very active in the green room, actually, and in the wider community of the current season of University Challenge to get more people involved in the Quiz Bowl scene. And
good.
That's definitely...
You don't get much more extrovert than Sean Webb's puzzle technique, do you?
No.
That was fantastic tonight. In terms of Mastermind, Ashton Davis won, and won with a pretty good score.
Serious player, though. Serious player.
Yeah, seriously good player. And you could see that 26 points, 15 on general knowledge, I think it was.
That's insane.
That is just, good in any era.
I know Ashton quite well. I texted him afterwards to say well done, and just because I knew I was going talking to you guys, I kept score. Yeah. I got the same. I got 15, and I got the exact 3 same questions wrong that he got wrong. Yeah, so it wasn't the case. It was.
Shrine was a toughie, and it was one of them where I think there was another one.
Shelley Duval was one.
Yeah,
I didn't get, and there was something else. I can't remember.
Shrine was for me like Lager, which came up in the first general knowledge round, which actually is a really quite an easy answer line, but it didn't feel like it from the question. It felt like it was more complicated. But he was calm and didn't let anything fluster him. So you could tell that there was a focus there and really, really good gameplay. And it's so easy, and you see it so often, for players to get something wrong and then be thinking about the question before when the next question comes up. And then you're in this spiral of not having heard it quite correctly, and maybe you give a wrong answer and then a pass, and then it reinforces itself negatively. And he never let him get himself into that.
I spoke to him about his specialist subject as well, and he picked Nick Drake, which in his by his own admission, pick somebody who sadly died young.
Yeah.
It's like you can't learn stuff about them when they're dead. It's like, okay, all right, it's fine. Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely a dark way of putting it, but definitely it's a good idea to pick single people with not that big a body of work, no matter the reason for their body of work being small, whether that be music, whether that be literature or sports people.
Yeah, the literature. I mean, you can't get much smaller than Jane Austen, surely.
No, I mean, I always think if you have a relatively narrow subject, then they should go much deeper into it and challenge you further. And I thought the questions were fair on Jane Austen. They felt
they were. But I'm just saying, you talk about narrow subjects, and you're talking about six books, aren't you?
Yeah.
And if you wanted a wider topic, then
but the art is
you can deep dive into them.
The art is picking the as Thomas said, the set with defined parameters. You know, with somebody's life, you know when they were born, you know when they died. You can work out all the things they did that are vaguely interesting in between, and that's it. There can't really be anything else. You know, you can't magic up something they wrote after death. Whereas with some subjects, they're so broad or ill-defined that actually you'll never know if you've covered everything in your prep.
Yeah.
So
I guess if they really want to go deeper than just a biography of the subjects, like for instance Jane Austen, they could go for adaptations of their work or criticism of their work, but that's really going into a much deeper kind of question. And
I think you'd have to obviously you have to set out the parameters before they start with the questions, don't they? So it's if you just say I want the novels of Jane Austen, then
Zachary's got a question here. How does it feel when you're on Mastermind and you hear the question being read, but you can't interrupt when you know it early? Example, what first president of the United States?
It is excruciating.
Because you're desperate to dive in, aren't you? And you're primed, you know, when you've done your prep to think, I know what this question is, I know where it's going. And if it's your specialist subject anyway, and then you can't answer until it's done. So excruciating is your word, Thomas.
It makes it unwatchable at times, if I'm being honest. 11 and 12 questions in a 2-minute. Yeah, gone are the days of Kevin Ashman getting 41 or Jesse Honey getting 23 on a specialist subject round. It'll never happen again. No. Yeah, and having spoken to the question writers, they get told to add more and more and more stuff just so they can cut them down to make them equal. Don't get me wrong, I agree with them making them equal. Yeah. But let's make them equal where everybody gets 16 questions as opposed to everybody getting 12 questions. Yeah. Because as you said, if somebody's got another question after the first 5 words, then give them 10 words instead of 30 and 40.
And to be honest, I don't think, sadly, that's going to change unless they change not even necessarily the producers, but the presenter, because I get the sense that Humphreys is the one who insists that the questions are all that kind of length and written in a particular way.
I've been told the same.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to wait several years before I apply again. But
Craig Ellerman, good old Craig. Craig was on Only Connect with me. John should give a wink when he's about to end the question. Or you should just keep shouting the answer until the question ends. So in that case, it would be George Washington, George Washington, George Washington, Washington, George. I don't know. I'm slightly freaked out by the idea of John Humphreys going like that. I'm not sure.
The image is, I'm going to have nightmares now.
Humphreys. So we've kind of covered some of the stuff on Only Connect as well. The singing, Lyndsay. Now this is something that has exercised people, and people either love or hate. And Dave is clearly in the hate camp. Did you get primed for that, or did it kind of happen organically as soon as Victoria started going? You know, let's have a verse. Because everybody joined in and sang for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knew the words. It's easy when you know the words.
I'll just say, Lyndsay, that minute you spent singing could have been 2 more missing vowels answers. You'd cost yourself the win there.
But you know what? I've got my second chance, and I would have sacrificed that all day long for my singing, because that was one of my ambitions, was to sing. So, and maybe finally, not that sounds vain. Maybe finally have someone on there who can carry a tune.
We got a comment from Grace where she says at the end, to be honest, love the singing. I'll only connect as a music nerd. So there you go. You've pleased somebody.
I can't think of a more potentially awkward thing than being asked by Victoria to sing a song that I don't know.
We've actually said if we ever get anywhere near again, if it should be a case of, nah, you're all right, thanks.
Here's a thought then, Thomas. React to this one. University Challenge should have singing as well. So, they start a song and, pick it up and carry on and finish the song. How about that one?
There are certainly some pop music rounds that I would have just sang along to if I was on the show. So I can't say I disagree.
I just like a bit more classical music. You'd have to sing along in a really weird way to sing along with some of the classical. My husband, we went to see Ludwig Einaudi, and he said, "Oh, you need to start listening so you wouldn't know the songs." And I'm like, "I'm not going to sing along. I'm not going to be going." Yeah.
All quizzes should have singing, says Grace. Well,
Everything should have singing. Grace. Me and you, we get it.
Quizzy, okay.
Yeah.
I think there's only way to resolve this. Fight! But no, Dave, I'm kind of with you, except that I did break into a very short burst of Ace of Spades when I was on. But I did think that's more
really weak from you, that.
I know. But, that was before it was really a thing. So, a bit of Ace of Spades. I also did Crackerjack when that was mentioned, and I shouted that, and that had, you could only.
I don't mind that.
That was
Friday, it's 5 o'clock. It's
Crackerjack. I mean, audience participation. It's the oldest again. I'm talking of older. Dave, is there any video evidence of you on Blockbusters, or has that completely disappeared from the web?
There was. I mean, I'll tell you the exact truth. I had it saved. When Challenge TV started doing reruns of, we had it saved on the Skybox up until about 3 months ago, and we cancelled our Sky subscription, so it's sat on the Skybox in the living room, but we can't use it because
it was a spectacular haircut, as I remember.
It was a bad haircut, and my nose was out. I'd broken my nose playing cricket the week before. And so I went on, and my face was sort of like, my nose was twice the size, but I got like troweled on makeup just to cover up the black eye from getting a bouncer in the face the week before. So
yeah, I mean, I've got some horrendous, but mine are all on YouTube, apart from my very first appearance. So if that ever pops up, they'll have the full set. One thing I noticed on University Challenge, which I thought there was a question about the compression part of the combustion engine cycle.
Yeah.
And I remember that with the slightly potentially dodgy phrase, suck, squeeze, bang, blow, which is how I remember the 4 parts of that cycle. So, what techniques do you guys have to try and fix things in your head? Does it have to be smutty or memorable in other ways? For that one, I didn't actually think of it as being terribly smutty until I wrote it down tonight and thought, suck, squeeze, bang, blow. Okay, but I tell you what, I never get it wrong. I always remember what part of that cycle, is missing if they name 3. Yeah. Thomas, do you have any techniques like that?
In my case, no. I really just play so much quiz that all this stuff just kind of sticks. But there are still some mnemonics, when you've got taxonomic things. I always still remember, King Philip, etc., etc. But aside from those, ones that everyone knows, I don't really have that kind of stuff. I just look at something or listen to something or write something down until it just kind of comes back, which it's not an efficient way of learning quiz. I don't recommend it, but that's.
I think there's only one mnemonic that I use, which is the champagne bottles, and that's Michael Jackson makes small boys really nervous. We can edit it out, Gareth. That's right.
So again, slightly off colour, slightly smutty, Dave. But I wouldn't have expected anything different, to be honest.
I don't have any either, but the two ones I still use righty tighty, lefty loosey.
Well, indeed.
Somebody once said to me, this statement is a litre of water is a pint and 3/4.
Pint and a quarter. A pint and a quarter. Pound and a quarter.
Pint and 3/4.
Oh no, it's a weight. The weight as well.
Yeah. But it's just stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I've never had to use it. It's just there.
Is it a pint of water weighs a pound and a quarter, or something like
I'll add that
Hey,
one.
hey,
To the
a gallon of water weighs 10 pounds, and that's like.
Okay, Dave, you've got to do more work on these mnemonics, with these rhymes. I mean, I'm like you actually. You know, I'm not quite lefty loosey and all that. Although I did do that when I was doing some plumbing. But never eat shredded wheat. You know, that it's amazing how many times I have to think, hang on, west is left. But yeah, I mean, my problem with mnemonics is I can't remember which mnemonic goes with which fact. So I just won't be able to remember it. I'll be able to remember the mnemonic and not what it actually goes for. So I'm hopeless. It doesn't work for me, except for things like suck, squeeze, bang, blow. So I think we found.
I've told you a lie. There is another one that I've used. It's the ranks of the peerage, which is did Margaret ever visit Brighton Beach?
Sorry, say that again.
Did Margaret ever visit Brighton? Did Margaret ever visit Brighton Beach? Duke, Marquis. Yeah. Duke, Max, Earl, Viscount, Baron, Baronet.
Yeah. And a lot of people use like Kent play cricket on Sundays, etc. for the taxonomic ranks. But yeah, I mean that one came to mind there because they struggled a little bit on it, but that was one of the few ones where I would have got in on there. I thought Sean played a blinder for Corpus, but kind of
it was just the Webb versus Lawson show, wasn't it? To be honest, I think they were both absolutely superb.
Well, absolutely, and I do know both of them from Student Quizbo, and they're both very good quizzes. But I think went unnoticed for some of it. But James Byrne on the Magdalen team was actually the one getting most of the buzzers there. He got 4 to Dan Lawson's 3. Both beaten by Sean Webb's 6, but still a very good showing from him. Dan Lawson was, however, probably the MVP of the game in how he managed to coordinate his team to get bonus answers, and in that sense, he was definitely a very good captain as well. Yeah.
Well, about 10 minutes from the end, they were trailing Magdalen, and I think I put on Twitter, that they're still in this. And then it was like buzz bonuses. Before you know it, they're leading and they never let up. And they got a real head of steam there, which is very easy to let your head drop if you're behind and you're up against somebody really, really good. See Lyndsay kind of nodding wearily because we talked earlier about the Darwin natural selection connection. But they didn't let that happen, and sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. In their case, they just did. I mean, would you just think I'm going to gamble a bit earlier on that, or do you still keep to a game plan of buzzing naturally?
I mean, you could see Sean buzzing, couldn't you? We know we can see Sean buzzing. That's the so he was good. I mean, he just had to go.
Pretty good score of buzzing,
Yes.
Yeah.
He just wasn't having the best split second of the night. He was there and thereabouts, but just missing out literally every time after. As soon as they lost the lead, you'd think he was having to go on the beer the bang, but he wasn't. He was just having that ever so slight delay.
Yeah, and at some point in such a match like this, where the loser just goes home, when you're behind, you have to take that risk. That's the best strategy, but it is really hard to force yourself to go for risks that you otherwise wouldn't. And I'm not even sure that that's what happened to Magdalen. I think they just got a couple buzzes and the form was just there. And it was helped by one of the crucial buzzes being one of Dan Lawson's, where he is, I don't think quite finishing, but definitely a late stage medical student getting a question on an enzyme. That was not an enzyme, a neurotransmitter, I think, but still very good to get one in the wheelhouse at such a crucial time. And that just confirmed the momentum. And like you mentioned, they were down around 50, 60 points at the half and then just from one point on, got all of the starters until the end of the game.
Yeah,
because it cuts both ways. Because the penalty for buzzing in early and being wrong is not just the 5 points, but it's the 10 points you pretty much gift to your opposition because they can hear the whole question, and it's the bonus points. And that's quite a swing. So
it's a 30-point swing, and a lot of games are decided by less than that. So
so it is massive.
I can see both sides of it. When we've played the QLL buzzer a couple of years ago, when you looked at the stats at the end of it all, Paul Sinner was top of the start. He got more starters, and Paul Sinner also got most negs.
Yeah.
So he was just he was outweighing one with the other. Just playing up the fact that if I don't get the neg, if I don't get the starter, I'm not going to get a chance at the bonuses. So.
And Lyndsay, your team was down 8 points going into missing vowels tonight, and started off well with rhyming synonyms. I thought, if they could keep this going on the rhyming antonyms, but that was kind of more even, and then absolutely mullered the films in the past set to leave yourself just one short. It was a good set, and I thought it was a good set overall. But I think, again, there was some top buzzing going on, and we talked about it last week, that people at home don't realize that you see the clues at home before the people in the studio do. And very often, if you've got the wide shot, you see both teams going at pretty much the same time. And there was a lot of that going on tonight. Some really, good anticipation. Even before you realised you know the answer, you're pushing the button down because
I think one of the good things that must have come from the COVID era is the fact that everybody gets their own buzzer now.
Yeah. I don't think we did it. But the thing with us and the corkscrews was we were the only two teams to have seen our opposition before we played them. So we saw how good the captain was on the corkscrews at missing vowels, but they'd also seen how well we did on our first show. So we both knew. I don't think we thought we were going to catch up. But when, to lose on a 20 when you were 8 points behind, I think, it's a testament to. I did come away from that show thinking definitely Tesco teammate. I did very little because I didn't really. The guys were just so quick. It was probably I genuinely at that point thought I'm not sure maybe they should have picked me. But then you listen to it and you kind of go, yeah, you did know them. You just weren't as quick as the Allens, the amazing Allens.
Yeah,
they'd better watch this and be calling them amazing.
Indeed. In fact, they'll be clipping it and they'll be putting it on their profiles for a year and a day. I did think as a show, actually, that it was a very traditional Only Connect show in many ways. And we commented on it last week, where a lot of the shows in this series have felt quite puzzly, quite a little bit more abstract. But here was, you got the letters that go in two different directions. You'd got,
the audio
Audi duets. The gold sequence, audio to AU. They felt very, very traditional. They could have been in series 1.
Yeah.
I thought round 1 was quite hard, and I thought round 2 was quite easy. Scoring along. I scored
I think that's a fair assessment, yeah.
Yeah, I scored 3 1s and 2 2s in round 1, and that was and then plus the Darwin question, which you can carry on asking me now. I still wouldn't get it. And then in round 2, 4 3s and a 2. Yeah. And then the alien, which again I was nowhere on. So I think round 2 I'd have definitely scored a lot more than round 1. So
I think the good thing with the first show we filmed, I think we felt we got more questions we knew. This time we didn't. That we saw the other team. We had that classic. Oh, if only we'd had that question, which there's nothing you can do about. So we went into the next show just genuinely going, it really doesn't matter. Let's make some good TV. Let's have fun.
Yeah,
because it's the last show we do. It doesn't matter. We've waited 5 years to get here. I am going to milk every second. And if we get through, great. The journey keeps going. And I think we learned a lot from having lost and won, and just gone. It doesn't matter. And hopefully people will see that on the next show as well. That because that's happened to both of us, to Walruses and to us. They lost and then won, and we won and then lost. And we both kind of went, yeah, let's just have a laugh.
Just go for it. Yeah.
I think if you put too much pressure on yourself, you forget that actually you're doing this for fun. And there's nothing at the end of Only Connect except a little Perspex trophy, which, as Jay said, does the rounds. But, that's
You're still in live then, because I heard they now get one each.
Yes. No, they do. I was talking about your Jenny.
My dear.
So you get a Perspex trophy. That's it. You don't get riches.
I've never seen it.
Get a glass bowl. University Challenge, you get a silver thing. I don't know what it is, book, scrolly type thing.
I think it's supposed to be some kind of parchment kind of thing. And you don't even keep it. The university keeps it for a year, and then it goes back to the producers. So yeah.
Just for anybody who's watching, we've still got 19 people watching. We'll be finishing up before too long. But if you've got any last questions, Lyndsay, who was on tonight, anything you want to ask somebody about Only Connect, the experience being on it. Thomas, who's on this series of Mastermind and has been on University Challenge and OC, and Dave, who is a grizzled veteran of many formats, TV's Dave Bill.
Grizzled, thanks, pal.
Also works for Red Tooth Quiz, and I think it's fair to say to them. Red Tooth do a lot of pub quizzing, and I know it's been tough for companies involved in quiz over the pandemic.
I got obviously lockdown comes in March, shut all the pubs, nobody wants pub quizzes, so I get furloughed. And thank God for the furlough scheme at the start of the year. But then everybody fell in love with quizzing over the summer, didn't they? So what we want, ultimately, is the love affair to continue once pubs are allowed to reopen, and people will go out to quiz nights as opposed to sitting in and doing things. So that's what we want. Fingers crossed it can continue.
Amen. We've got a question from Grace. Grace, we're loving these questions coming in. How do you guys come up with your fact? And I'm going to put fact in inverted commas. At the beginning of Only Connect, because I think it's fair to say that some facts are a little bit massaged. Lyndsay, how did you come up with your facts?
So you kind of list a few stuff off about yourself, and you're aware of the kind of things that they want. I like to think I've done some pretty cool things that probably are a bit too cool, but then it's weird the ones that they pick. Like eating tikka masala in every country I've been to. It's classic Only Connect fact, but is it interesting? I don't know.
Really care, yes.
It's just one of those things now, isn't it? But it's just funny. I'd like the question she asks the captain better than the fact. I actually asked Captain Alan, "Did you know the question?" before she asked it, because his answers were that good on both shows, and he didn't. He just came up with it. But he's a script writer. He's a script writer, so I would expect him to come up with something good.
Yeah, I think some of them, at least when we were on, our captain Stan did get told what the question would be, but I gather that doesn't seem to be true either. Not now or in every episode, at the very least. But in terms of coming up with the facts, I think it's just racking your brain for stuff that's happened to you that might not have seemed, important or silly at the time, but that you can phrase in a way that will make people kind of confused. And if you can't get anything, the producers will just talk to you in the green room for hours on end until they tease one out of you. And then we'll just handwrite it down on a card for Victoria to read.
And then you'll hear it for the first time when it comes out of Victoria's mouth. One I remember from me was I was saying about how I literally walked slap bang into Javier Perez de Cuellar
Nice.
at the Burlington Arcade in London. He was coming out, I think is it the Royal Society of Arts or something there. He was coming out. I wasn't really looking where I was going. We literally walked into each other. By the time it got onto Only Connect, it was who bumped into a former UN Secretary General in a shopping centre. It's like, the Burlington Arcade is not a shopping centre. It kind of works better as an Only Connect intro that way.
Not to detract from people watching your channel, Gareth, but I think if Grace looks hard enough, somebody has actually put a montage together of the best, best question, best facts, and also I think
Yeah.
In the back of one of the only Connect books as well. So I'm not sure if it's the first or the second. Jack has actually put a list of the question editor's favourite ones.
My vow is the one that didn't get read out though. So I think on the next show, my fact was a keen karaoke singer, and Victoria said, "I'm not reading that out because it takes away from your beautiful voice."
Wow.
And she made me come up with something else. That's like my proudest moment, and it's not even going to be on TV.
That is extremely lovely.
Everybody asks what she's like, and it's like she's really just that nice and that funny, and people can't believe it. But, yeah, no, she really is.
Great. So she's looking forward to that, which is good. The thing I would recommend on Twitter, if you haven't seen it, is the Only Connect intro bot, which every day just does computer-generated intros for people. So, Gareth Kingston, who is a badger wrangler from New South Wales, who likes to eat raw stones. It just puts all these things together. It's quite funny. It's a kind of a one-joke Twitter feed. Enjoy that. Is there anything else before we close off that you think stuck out from Mastermind, Only Connect, and University Challenge this evening?
I was like, there's a couple of the bonus things I liked in University Challenge. I like the things that sound like Azkaban.
Yes,
I thought that was a lovely little bonus set. That was my favourite one of the evening. And unfortunately, the only time Sean Webb smiled was when they lost. So, Sean, what are you doing? Smile more.
It's just what his face is like. He is genuinely a lovely guy. I'm happy to say, but
I've met Sean a few times, only over Zoom, obviously, and we've done some stuff after the online quiz league on a Wednesday. And I don't want to use the term like set in his ways, but I think he's quite methodical in what he's learning, and he's like Quiz Bowl syllabus. And we were bringing out all sorts of questions on a random Wednesday night, and I think the point where we lost him was when I asked which supermarket is mentioned in the lyrics of "Rabbit" by Chas and Dave, and you could literally see him closing the laptop down. I think we'd broken him at that point.
Which is strange considering that, having talked to him, he is actually a 50-year-old man in the body of a 20-year-old. But no, he's absolutely lovely. And to
very, very switched on guy.
To paraphrase the man himself, that is just what his face looks like.
To be fair, I think, again, when you're in the zone, when you're in the competitive zone, the last thing you're thinking about is, will people think I'm a smiley, happy person, or will people think I look like a serial killer? You're just thinking about, I want to get in on that buzzer before the other people.
I tried really hard not to look too serious, and as I was convinced I'd look like a simpleton tonight because I was trying hard not to have a serious face. And then the minute they got that 3-pointer, it went back to really serious because I just didn't care anymore.
I remember about Sean earlier in the summer. I was speaking to Paul Sinner, and he said, I've just had my backside handed to me by a teenager in a mimir. And I said, it's somebody I've never heard of. I says, who's that then? Paul's words, Sion Webb. I was like, because obviously Sean's got must be a Gaelic spelling as well. And obviously then Sean appears on University Challenge, and he becomes the known entity, and Paul's like, oh right, so that's where he's been.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw him, it was ACF 4, so one of the easier university Quiz Bowl tournaments in his first year, so that would be, last year, 2019, and I think he'd never really turned up to an Oxford Quiz Society practice, or maybe one or two. I'd certainly never seen him or heard of him, and he got an average of something like 9 starters per game, or 9.5 in games with 20 starters. And that's over the course of an entire day. That's an insane average. And everyone was like, who's this guy on Oxford C who's just scoring all these points? And then he just kept getting big results and is just getting better every day. And it's incredible to see.
And alas, we have to wave goodbye to him because University Challenge is unforgiving, and we won't be seeing him again this series. We will be seeing Lyndsay, which is great. Thomas, I can't remember. Are you still in Mastermind?
I am not.
So we won't be seeing you there just yet, but maybe some point in the future. And Dave, I don't know. We'll always bump into you on a TV show somewhere.
They're not going to let me near a telly show. My biggest issue nowadays is when they put in occupation on the answer form, and I have to come up with like some more creative things other than professional quiz writer.
Grizzled veteran, that's your new one.
Grizzled veteran, grizzled quiz veteran. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us on chat tonight. It's been great fun talking to you. Hopefully we'll see some of you again. The door is always open. Thanks to everybody who's watched and asked questions. Just scrolling through, we've had Grace, Lucy, Zachary, Craig, Michael. So it's been great that you guys have chipped in. We'll be doing this again. We'll always publicize it online. And so as long as there's quizzing to talk about, we'll be doing that. And please check out some of the other videos on all things quiz and give us your feedback if there's anything you'd like to see. So thanks very much, everybody. And
thank you.
Have a good rest of the week.
Thanks, Gareth.
Bye.
Bye.